Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Lisa Gold, she, her, hers, Hapa, half Asian, Korean, half white woman with hair pulled up in a bun, wearing a flowered blouse. And we are joined by other members of our team here, Justine and Amy. Do you want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. Good morning, good afternoon. Like it's all the same. My name is Amy Andrier, and I'm the Executive Director and Chief Curator at MoCADA, which stands for the Museum of Contemporary African Diasporan Art. I'm a Black woman with dreadlocks, shoulder-length dreadlocks, wearing a black sweater in front of a map of Staten Island. And I am sorry, there are people talking in my background, but I am seated in the lands of the Lenape tribe and Canarsie people in Brooklyn. And I'm so happy about being here today.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Justine Lee, she, her. I'm the programs director at Asian American Arts Alliance, and I am an East Asian woman with shoulder length hair, and I am currently in the A4 offices with some various postcards and art behind me, including this beautiful art representing Black Asian solidarity. Um, and yeah, I'm just happy to be here too. And I will be taking notes in the background during the Q&A section and also monitoring the chat as questions come up and kind of supporting Lisa and Amy as they answer all your questions. Yes, yes. Shout out to Emery Douglas, who is the artist, the designer of this poster here. And I will pass it on to Zola to introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Zola Jordan Savage. They, she pronouns. I'll be controlling the slideshow today. I'm one of the community programmers at MoCADA.
Great. Thank you so much, Zola. All right, so we are going to start. Amy and I are going to be trading off, going through today's info session. So we will talk through it. If you could save your questions till the end, that will be great. We are recording this, so if there's anything that you missed during the session, you can view it on our YouTube channel or MoCADA's site. Okay, so I'm going to start with a land acknowledgement because A4 and MoCADA reside in a network of hills and rivers in the coastal Atlantic Northeast, known as Lenape-Hoking, the ancestral land of the Lenape and Canarsie peoples. So today we're connected online via a different system, a vast array of servers, cables, and computer devices maintained by human actors. But in the United States, much of this infrastructure sits on stolen land acquired under the extractive logic of white settler expansion. As partner organizations focusing on solidarity, we recognize this history and uplift the sovereignty of Indigenous people, data, and territory. We commit beyond symbolic rhetoric to dismantling all ongoing settler colonial practices and their material implications on our digital worlds. So today, with that, we're going to lead you through some background about the residency, the components of the residency itself, the timeline of the program, what determines eligibility. We'll walk you through the application. We'll talk about how residents will be selected, and then we'll open it up to your questions. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of context. So background on A4. We are a nonprofit organization dedicated to ensuring greater equity, representation, and opportunities for Asian American artists and arts organizations. We do that through resource sharing, promotion, and community building. Amy, do you want to talk about MoCADA, or you want me to just plow through?
It's fine. I can do it. We're just gulping some water at the same time. The Museum of Contemporary African Diasporan Arts, MoCADA, uses visual and performing arts as a point of departure of exploring new artistic productions across a variety of disciplines. Through exhibitions, community programming, and educational initiatives centered on social justice, we incite dialogue on pressing social and political issues facing the African diaspora, Africa and the diaspora, and foster a dynamic, safe space for the creation and continuous evolution of shared culture. Do you want to
Oops,
continue?
great. Yeah, sorry, I was muted. And just a big shout out to our funders who make this program possible. The New York State AAPI Community Fund, Ford Foundation, the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, and the New York City Department of Youth and Community Development. So how did this even start, this program? So back in, I guess in 2001, given what was happening to our communities with just not even unprecedented, but just the ongoing and volume of violence against the Black American community and the attacks on the AAPI community in the wake of some really violent rhetoric by our former president. You know, I felt the need to do something. Our communities were being pitted against each other by the popular media, the white supremacists behind that, understanding that it is in their power to divide us rather than have us united against a common threat. So I felt it was imperative to do whatever I could to try to bring our communities together, instead of inciting more violence and pitting us against each other, because there's a long, long history of our communities working together, going back and actually well before the first large-scale Afro-Asian conference, which took place in 1955 in Bandung, Indonesia, called the Bandung Conference, which was an convening of post-colonial nations in Africa and Asia. So using that conference as our inspiration, I reached out to the most fabulous Amy Andrea at MoCADA to see if she was interested in working together on this program. And Amy was like, hell yes. So immediately, despite all the incredible, huge things on her plate, she was inspiring to me and said, of course, let's do this. And for the past 4 years, we've been working on this program now. And so we continue to learn and grow, both from the artists who have participated in this program and from the communities and readings and learnings that are happening all around us. So this program is one that continues to grow and change and adapt based on the needs of the residents and what is happening in the world. So that gives you a little bit of context. Amy, feel free to add and share.
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you for, following your intuition, or what I like to call the call from the ancestors, and reaching out, because this, we like to say that we want to also model solidarity together. And I think, A4 and MoCADA have done that very well. And I just love being in collaboration with you guys. And seeing the projects realized over the past 4 years has just been life-changing, so I'm excited to see what comes out of this cohort. So that's another story. All right, so the residency. Thank you, Zola. Killing it with the slides. Okay, so I'm gonna give you some background on the residency. Some things, if you have heard from others about like what this residency is about, some things have stayed the same, some things have changed based on our learnings over the past few years. So I'm gonna run down those really quickly. And of course, please, if you can, hold your questions to the end so that, we have an opportunity to really flesh out those answers. We just don't want to miss out on giving you this information, this general information first. So the key objectives of this residency: we will select 7 to 10 New York City-based visionaries. On occasion, we have selected more, but generally this is the range of the number of residents who will participate in cohort 3. This includes collectives. So if you're part of a collective of, let's say, 2 or more people, you still count as one artist, right? So you still fall within that 7 to 10 range. The this year's residency is different, as I said before, from last year in that, the residency used to be 4 months long. We learned from our experience in working with artists that, transformation doesn't happen quickly, right? So we extended the program over the course of a year to give our residents the space to learn, reflect, create, and engage community more deeply. Yes, you will be required to participate for the full year, but do note that we have broken down the residency into phases, which we'll get to later. Some of that will be led by us, some of that will be self-directed, and some of it will be learning in collaboration. We'll also uplift the work of artists, organizers, educators, and waymakers. We also understand that this is not a catch-all. There may be some folks who have an integrated practice who may be artists and organizers, artists and educators, or waymakers and educators, etc. So we suggest selecting the category that best defines you in relation to the project that you'll be working on during the residency. And in your project description, you can speak to how your process is dynamic or integrated, et cetera, et cetera. Feel free to expand there. We hope to propel forward the spirit of solidarity crystallized during the 1960s and 70s. I'd just like to call out like the students at Berkeley in the 60s who came together to fight against the education that was being served that wasn't inclusive of all cultures, all ethnicities, and that was led by Asian and Black students, Asian, Black, and Latino students, actually. And shout out to the students right now who are fighting against the system in support of Palestine. Also, we'll center the historical and contemporary issues faced by AAPI and Black communities. As an example, in cohort 1, we had Daphne Lundy and Gloria Lau, who worked to kind of uncover, who worked to uncover the two Asian and Black communities who were living in Flushing, Queens during the time, and what that looked like from a geographical, I can't speak today, geographical perspective, and how that kind of seeped into the culture of New York City. Cohort 2, actually cohort 2 extension, Sunny Lau and Malika Temba worked on a contemporary issue, looking at jail system, the new jails that were going to be erected in Chinatown and Harlem. I shouldn't say were, because this is still a conversation, but their project kind of focused on that. So you can look at the historical and kind of dig in deep there and unpack ideas or themes relevant to these two communities. Or you can look at contemporary issues, things that we're facing now, and kind of look to your project to kind of expand that conversation. We also hope that each resident will deepen their relationship with themselves, their practice, other residents, and with the communities identified. We say this a million times over. This residency is designed to be transformative, not just for the communities we serve, it's also supposed to be transformative for you individually. So we'll get into that a little bit more, but, use this time to really reflect on the unconscious things that we've kind of integrated into our practice, integrated into just our psyche. This is an opportunity to unpack, to grow, to evolve alone and with each other. Encouraging connections with local leaders and community members to inspire unity through the lens of an artistic presentation, shared exploratory experience, or special project. In other words, public art piece, performance, walking tour, ephemeral installation, community building activity, etc. We know that there's several different ways that projects can be manifested or realized. And we also know that, when you start this journey, where your project is, when you start this journey may be different after your experience within this residency. Actually, we anticipate that. And we want you to understand that it will grow. So, but the point of us encouraging connections is to really get us out of this idea of operating in silos, operating in these kind of spaces that where we become echo chambers of each other, where people are already aware. How do we tap in to communities of people who are already doing the work? How do we tap into spaces that are safe spaces where we can, host workshops, et cetera, et cetera. Think about tapping into the people who are most impacted, who could be the most impacted by your work. We encourage that. Next slide, please. And I apologize for my background. There's a lot of stuff happening around me, but we're gonna get through it. So in terms of the program itself, as we said, it's a year-long program. I want to stress that it's a year-long program from June 2024 to June 2025. And as I said before, the phases are structured in a way where you will be led by us during phase one, where it's pretty structured to gain foundational knowledge, get to know the members of the cohort, get to know us, and you get to, shape and begin like creating your problem question or the thing that you want to unpack, right? Your research question. This includes social gatherings with cohort members, learning exchanges by our favorite anti-oppression coach, YK Hong, conversations and presentations with community voices. As an example, in the past, we've done a community conversation with For Freedoms, which was pretty pretty powerful. But we'll get to that too. How many of those presentations we'll have. But in addition to that, A4 and MoCADA teams are available for one-on-one check-ins as needed. We understand that residents will have questions as they navigate this first phase, and we want to be there for you. Phase two, which is self-directed time. Okay, so again, phase one is structured by us, A4 and MoCADA. Phase two, self-directed time. This is after you've kind of created your project inquiry and said, okay, now it's time to research, meet with community leaders, because we believe in design justice, or, which means centering community and letting the community inform your practice, right? So you're going to meet with community members and organizations, pilot some of those ideas, have, host events. You might want to create a prototype if it's something physical or tangible, and bring it out into the world. Also, A4 and MoCADA teams will be available for check-ins, one-on-one check-ins as needed. Phase three, which is rooted in community engagements and presentations. Again, wanted to create that time for you to reflect, to really kind of extend your process so that you have time to really, really engage and focus on your impact. Impact is key, right? We don't want to create these projects in a vacuum, right? We want to create these projects where they are we are engaging with community, and the community has an opportunity to reflect and transform in the same way that we hope the residents will. So this self-directed time, yep, no, you're good. You go to the next one. Thank you, Sola. So here are the components again. This is a little bit more detail. Again, the program is a year-long, June 2024 to June 2025, with structured, self-directed, and group learning. This is designed to be a dynamic, safe space where we engage in social justice discourse. You'll see that those who become residents of cohort 3 will see that in their learning exchanges with YK Hong. It's about restorative healing, cultural uplifting, and expanding the narrative between communities and cross-community allyship. There will be 3 learning exchanges by YK Hong. We still want to know what's going on in those learning exchanges. We don't get to know. This is a private safe space where the residents meet with YK Hong, and that's throughout the residency program. So it'll be, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I believe there's 1 learning exchange per phase, right?
I thought it was one once a month in
Once
the
a month.
first phase. Yeah.
That's what it is. Okay. See, look, I'm learning too. 4 conversations led by community voices. These are the presentations where they're designed around certain themes that we want to uplift that will help you along the course of your journey in creating this project. And essentially these community voices will be presenting their own journeys so that you can learn from them. And there's opportunity to also ask questions. But these are public conversations followed by Q&A by our residents, private Q&A with our residents. There will be 3 to 4 social gatherings amongst the cohort and A4 MoCADA teams. Of course, we have connections to community leaders and organizations, but we also encourage you to build your own. And each artist collective will get an honorarium of $3,000 as part of their residency. Timeline. Ooh, this is the fun part. All right, so this is where we are now, right? Application opened about, what was that, a week ago already? April 16th. Today is the info session, obviously, April 23rd. Your deadline, I'm gonna stress this, your deadline is May 14th, 2024, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, not Pacific Standard Time, not midnight. Anytime before 11:59 p.m., please submit. I always like to tell folks, try to submit a couple of hours before, because you know the internet can be crazy sometimes. And if you end up pressing submit after midnight or after 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, unfortunately, you will not be eligible for this residency. So I'm going to stress that, May 14th, 11:59 p.m. A month later, we will select the cohort and they will be notified. Between May and June, we'll have a panel of reviewers from community who across advocacy, arts, etc., who will help to define, who will help to decide our cohort 3 residents. And then on June 25th, we'll make a public announcement. And that will probably be on social, press, etc., etc., etc. Next slide, please. So first phase starts the learning and development phase, which starts with the welcome meeting on June 25th. Now, these dates, I just want to keep in mind that, you know, if you have an issue with any of these dates, please let us know. But ideally, we would like all of our residents to be available for these meetings, because again, this residency is designed to be transformative for you as an individual and you and your artistic practice, in addition to community. So there's a lot that happens in these learning exchanges and these community conversations that will inform your work and inform you as a human being. So we would like you to be there. June 11th, learning exchange with YK, 6:30 to 8:30. Again, these are in person. Well, this one is in person. 2 are in person, 2 are on Zoom. Let me rewind that again. The learning exchanges are in person. The community conversations are on Zoom. There we go. The reason why we have these learning exchanges for 2 hours is because we want to ensure that our residents have time to connect with each other for like the first 30 minutes, and then go deeply into the work for about an hour and a half. But yes, these, ideally, you will be here for these dates. We like to say that they are mandatory, but we also understand that life happens sometimes. That doesn't mean that you can check out of every meeting. Just going to be clear about that. Next slide, please. We love meeting with each other, celebrating each other. So on September 5th, you know, as a midway point of the residency, we will have a potluck, and I hope you can cook because we like food too. How about that? On September 19th, we'll have our community conversation. We are still determining who will lead those community conversations, but if you have suggestions, please don't hesitate to let us know. We love hearing from you all. On October 8th, we'll have another learning exchange with YK Hong. On October 24th, another community conversation. And as I said before, the community conversations are wrapped around themes. You can go to the next slide. Next year. Okay, so we've finished 6 months, yeah? So far. Next year, from January to March 2025, this is where your research period begins. You know, after you've kind of had the time to kind of build your idea and start to engage with community and asking questions and kind of creating the feasibility plan, so to speak, for your project. You know, now we dive deeper into the research, right? You start diving deeper into what will it take to realize this project, or, you know, the series of art pieces, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In January, our favorite time of the year, we get to gather together for Aloha, with A4. This is in person, and we are the loudest tables in the room. Ask anyone. It's always fun to come. So it's optional, but we'd love you to be there. It's always fun. It's always right. April through June 2025, community engagements and presentations. So this phase, as we mentioned before, is your opportunity to present your work. That might look like an exhibition, that might look like an intervention, that might look like a party, that might look like a series of workshops. But this is your opportunity to engage community with the final work. In June 2025, summer social share out. What we do here usually with the share out is we meet in person and we share privately what our journey has been. We explain what our next steps are, if any, you know, our key learnings, the pros and, well, not the pros and cons, but the highlights and the challenges, the opportunities for transformation that present themselves throughout the course of the residency. And then for the first time ever in September 2025, we're going to host a Bandung symposium in person. Wow. I'm really, yeah, we're like, yeah, we've been planning this. Well, we've been talking about it for about a year and some change now. So to see it on paper in front of my face right now, I'm like, oh my God, we got to do this. But it's our opportunity to bring community together, all of the residents together, to really, in the spirit of solidarity, exactly, exciting. In the spirit of solidarity, and also to share, you know, all that we've learned throughout this process. As an example of that, here's a shameless plug. We have our Bandung book that's coming out soon, which we're really excited about, that shares key learnings from the past 3 years of this program, what our residents have learned, what we've learned, and how we're continuing to model solidarity and share those best practices with other organizations who want to do this work. Important note, the program schedule is subject to change, primarily based on your needs and schedules. All learning exchanges and social gatherings, including the welcome meeting, midpoint potluck, New Year, summer social, etc., will be in person, and we will try our best to provide options for residents to join virtually if needed. But we'd love for you to be in person. I'm going to stop talking now and pass
Okay.
the mic to Lisa.
Thank you, Amy. I thought that was very thorough. Okay, in terms of eligibility, we are asking that you are a resident of New York City, that you reside within the 5 boroughs of New York when the program starts, and ideally throughout the duration of the program. We are asking any discipline or stage of artistic exploration, activism, community organizing, educational practice, and thought leadership is welcome. You do not have to be an expert in this. If this is going to be transformational for you, and this is something you've been wanting to do and aren't sure how to do it, this is like a great place for you. If this is something, this is what you've been doing your whole life, you're passionate about this, this is the place for you. So it's very important that we have a variety of perspectives and experiences in the cohort for people to learn and teach and share and grow together. So that's why it's very broad here. The most important thing is that you have a demonstrated willingness or interest in community work and fostering solidarity between our communities. That is key, the underpinning of this whole thing. Let's see, what else? Next is a proposed project. Now, your project may change, you know, as you get into this, as you learn, as you test out different ideas, that is totally fine. But we want you to come in with some idea of what you'd like to do, because it'll help you structure your time and help us also direct resources to help you move forward with your goals and plans here. Next, another thing that's, you know, integral to this project is a spirit of generosity and a desire to foster a collaborative and close-knit community. We have been so inspired and touched by the incredible support that the residents give to each other and continue showing up at each other's events, just giving moral support, online love. And it's really impressive to see how the cohort, the community continues to grow and yet stay so close and supportive of each other. So it's very important that somebody comes with that, that spirit. We want you to have an interest in using this residency as a platform to promote cross-cultural messaging of healing and unity. This isn't a reactive program. It's not like responding to one event. This is really important as this is a sustained, ongoing effort to unite our communities in a meaningful way. So things aren't always easy, things aren't always pretty, but doing the work is really important and really meaningful. So that's what we're hoping that you bring. Additionally, it's important that you are an individual artist or a collaborative, not an organization. This is really to support individual transformation, whether that is somebody working alone or working as part of a collaborative or a collective. We're asking that next slide. Degree earning students at the time of application or residency actually may not apply. This is for people who probably don't have the resources that they can obtain through a university or, a degree earning program. So this is, we want people to be able to focus on this work. Granted, of course, you have other things going on, but we want somebody who's really invested in this outside of an institutional environment. Let's see. Next, you have to be 18 years of age because we serve alcohol at our social gatherings. No, just kidding. I mean, that is part of it, but we want you to be at least 18. And then also, most importantly, is being able to commit to the full duration of the program. I think those are the key things. Okay, Amy, you want to talk about the application?
Yes, I just love that you took me back to the Caribbean and you said that the drinking age was 18. I was like, yes, is that what we're doing now? Okay. You can apply to the Bandung residency via this link, bit.ly /Bandung 2024 app. I haven't had coffee today. I'm sorry, guys. Keep in mind that bit.ly links are case sensitive. So that B in Bandung and that A in app need to be capitalized for you to actually reach the application. Deadline, once again, May 14th at 11:59 Eastern Standard Time. Please, please, please. So on the application, which is a jot form, pretty easy to use. First, you'll, there are a series of questions around your personal info, your identity, how you define yourself. There are narrative questions, project and community details, project planning and supplementary information, anything else that, you felt like the questions didn't give you an opportunity to kind of speak to, you can add in that supplementary information. Next slide, please. So in the identity section, you'll answer questions like, what is your name? And this is how you identify, yeah? How did you hear about this opportunity? That could be from A4's newsletter, from MoCADA social media, from a friend, a former resident, what have you. Demographic questions like, what is your age, your race, your gender, sexual orientation, ability, disability? Now, the reason why we ask this question is because we want to make sure that our cohort is reflective or as reflective of community as possible. So we like to have representation across all spaces. Practice, again, are you an artist, culture worker, educator, organizer, activist? Choose the one that best identifies you in relation to this project that you'll be focusing on within the residency. And in the narrative, in your bio, you can speak to how you are, you are an integrated designer, or that your work is more dynamic, and that it's inclusive of multiple spaces. Feel free to do that. But in the area of practice, if you can choose one, that would be ideal. And your bio, I know this is like the worst thing ever. I know, like bios and the word count, I'm always wanting to write 500 word bios, but in this in this section, please keep it to a minimum. I know you're gonna feel like there's some things that you're gonna have to leave out, et cetera, et cetera. Not to worry, you can expand on that later in the supplementary section or in the narrative questions. And then answer the question, are you an individual or a collective? And we see collective as two or more people working together in community. Narrative questions. What is your experience within the two communities identified? Now, this is an interesting question because this might be like this could speak to your personal heritage. You know, we've had folks who, I mean, obviously everyone who's participated so far has either been Black or Asian or mixed. So you can speak to that heritage or that legacy, or it could be work that you do now. You know, you might be hosting workshops already, or you might be teaching in these communities or something else. Give us some information here about that. What are themes that you'd like to explore during the residency? This residency brought you here, but there's something that you want to create. What themes are you trying to unpack? What ideas are you trying to explore? What are you trying to investigate? This is where you tell us here. How can this residency support your growth? This is important because, you know, obviously, again, this residency was designed to be transformative. So we want to hear how you anticipate growing within it, what you'd like to learn, what you'd like to explore with like for yourself personally, and as an artist, educator, waymaker, etc. Next slide. Thank you. Project and community details. This is the next section of the application, which allows you to speak more specifically and succinctly about the project you're wishing and hoping to create. What is the project and how will it center, involve, and benefit the communities identified? You know, again, going back to that point about impact, how do you anticipate, how are you being intentional in your practice to benefit the community? Speak to that. How will your project be informed by community? You can speak to that in that section. Why is this project important to you in the communities identified? Why now? You know, why is, you know, what is the reasoning behind this work? What prompted you to do this work? Why will it be important to the communities that we serve? Again, pay attention to those word counts. Try to give as much detail as possible. I always like to say, write a rough draft, like verbal, like mental, I can't even say it. Like brain dump on paper, draft, right? And then go back and clean it up and tighten it up. That way you can get all the details into the section that you want to share with us. Now, is this an existing project? Yes, no, other. So this might be a project it might be a new iteration of an old project. It might be an expansion of a project that you started, but now you want to deepen that engagement with community. Or maybe it's something completely new that's been on your mind that you want to create. Just let us know. Project plan. Next section of the application is, you know, really thinking about your project management kind of skills. You know, how do you plan to use phase one? You know, phase one is all about learning and development, as we said before, which is structured by us. You know, how do you plan to use that to really learn about the topic and the themes that you're trying to explore? Expand on that there. How do you plan to use phase two, research? You know, this is after you've created your, you know, your project statement or your project question, your inquiry, and you've decided, now I'm going to dig into the research and start testing out my theories, speaking to community, meeting with community leaders, et cetera, et cetera. How do you plan to use phase two? How do you plan to use phase three? Phase three is when your project should be, quote unquote, done. A project is never done, right? Your project should be done and you're ready to engage with community in a deeper way. And you're ready to present the work. How will you do that? You know, what are your early thoughts now? We understand that this is a process and that you'll be learning along the way and this may change. But where you sit right now, how are you visioning for the future? How are you visioning for these three different phases? And here in supplementary information. So we asked, of course, we want everything. Your social security number. No, I'm just kidding. No social security number. But your website, your Instagram, your social handles, your headshot, permission to use your headshot, because we like to celebrate you guys, put it on our website, so post it on social media, etc. And of course, we always want to give credit to the creators. So if you have a photo credit, please add that. And that's it. Back to Lisa.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you, Amy. All right, so how are we going to decide? Because I'm sure you all have amazing ideas about this. So as Amy stated before, we convene a panel of independent reviewers. These are community leaders, thought leaders, and artists. We've had former Bandung residents participate because they know the program very well. So we obviously always want in perspectives from the artists. The panelists, we ask them to consider a holistic set of criteria in determining who they would recommend for this program based on your applications. What is your potential for growth? What is your willingness to share, collaborate, and learn? I mean, this could be demonstrated through previous collaborations, teaching, other community projects that you've engaged in. So how are you going to demonstrate this kind of generosity that we are looking for in the cohort? We want to understand your project. How do you plan to execute it? Does it make sense? Do you need us? Do you need the program to be able to execute it? How is this going to help you being in this program? We're looking at the clarity of goals and personal benchmarks. Again, as we state over and over again, this is for you. This is for you to learn and grow and bring these learnings, sow these seeds out in the community. And how do you plan to do that? So again, if you can make that clear in your application, that will help the panel reviewers. And then at the end, you know, we take a look at all of the information, you know, how the panelists have scored and evaluated the applications. And then we look to ensure that there is a balance of backgrounds, of different types of projects, of learnings, and experience levels, all sorts of things, so that we have a diverse cohort. We don't want, you know, like all 22-year-olds working on zines. You know, we want to make sure that it is a very a wide range, like I said, of experience, projects, ideas, so that people can share, learn, and grow from each other. And as well as touching different areas of the community, which is also, you know, a foundational point of this program. I think, is that it? So, oh, okay, yeah. So I guess now we will we'll open it up for your questions. If there's something that you want to ask, don't feel comfortable asking, you can email Justine, especially if you think about it after the fact, like, oh, I should have asked this, or if something comes up and you need further clarity as you're filling out your application, please email Justine at jlee@aaartsalliance.org. Please do not wait until 11:58 before the deadline to email your question, because she will not answer your email on a weekend. Okay, our work hours are Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. So your questions will be answered during that time. Okay.
And thank you. Please and thank you.
Boundaries, people. Okay. Let's open it up for questions. If you want to turn on your
Cameras.
That's great, because we love to see your faces. If not, and so I think you can stop screen sharing.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say too, before we jump into the Q&A portion, is that you touched on something a second ago, Lisa, this idea of community. And something I think we neglected to mention is that, again, this is focusing on New York City, right? So there are so many neighborhoods that you can tap into to kind of create your work, enable your practice, and support residents, New York City residents. Take advantage of that, you know? I think cohort 2 and the extension cohort did a really great job of looking at even cohort 1 did a really great job at looking at Flushing, Flatbush, Harlem, and Chinatown, really looking at how to support residents right here in our city. How can you take advantage of that? How can you enable an impact community, touch them directly? Think about the neighborhoods. I keep stressing that. Think about the neighborhoods. Okay, Q&A, sorry.
Yeah, so we can get started with Meghana's question. Meghana, I can read it out loud. I am the only individual within a small transnational curatorial collective who resides in New York City. Our work is very connected with the Bandung tradition. Would A4 MoCADA be open to a collective with members who are not in New York City, or is it better to apply as an individual? Good question.
Coming out the gate with like guns right now. Like this is, I think as an individual, yeah.
I think so too. I mean, we're stressing the importance of in-person learnings, and I think it's important for the participants. You will get much more out of it if you're able to participate in person and truly bond with your fellow cohort residents.
And again, this is about community. Don't forget those neighborhoods. This is for New York City. And we hope this residency will inspire other collectives and other groups to do this work as well. But for now, this Bandung residency is focusing on New York.
Okay, great. Thank you. So the next question is from Phil, who asks, do we need to submit work samples? No work samples need to be submitted, but we're hoping to get as much information as we can from your narrative responses, and then also your project description, how you'll use the time in the residency, how you hope to grow the communities, the impact you'd like to have on the community. We do have that supplementary section, which invites you to submit your resume, your website, which often is a really good way for us to get to know your work beyond what you've shared with us in the application. So if you feel like maybe you didn't get everything you wanted to get out in the narrative questions or the questions that we ask, maybe add a little more color to your website if you already have one, or even your social media, just for us to get a sense for the breadth of your work.
Or a cheat code is to use a Linktree link with other links.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Great. And then I got a DM from one of our attendees who asked, can you give us examples of past participants and their projects? So I just dropped a link to the Bandung residency page on the A4's website. And if you scroll down, you will see a list of our past residents and a description of their projects. Okay, and then I see you have a question from Kayla. I understand you cannot be a degree earning student, but is it okay if you've already graduated? Oh, definitely. Yes, Kayla. You can be someone who has already graduated as long as you are not enrolled in a degree granting program during the residency program. Okay, great. So that's all we have in the chat right now. If anyone wants to ask a question virtually, or sorry, by raising your hand, off camera, now's the time.
Someone just asked me a question directly. 2 questions. The first question is, would this residency be open to artists, performing artists who are willing to move to New York? Just for the residency? Follow-up question for you. Obviously, we would love for our residents to be based in New York.
Yes. So one thing to add is that we don't actually ask for proof of residency in the application or proof of age. However, if you are selected, we will be reaching out to you and asking for that information. So proof of residency would be like a lease agreement, a utility bill with your name and address on it, any type of like official document that ties your name to a New York City address. So
I just got the follow-up answer. So LOL was already considering moving to New York, but having a program to socially acclimate into would be awesome. Ooh, Oh my God. If you move to New York before we decide on these applications, then technically you're New York City based.
Yeah, so if basically if you move before mid-June,
Yeah.
then and you're selected, then yeah, you'd be eligible for this program.
Exactly.
And
And
you
then
have
this-
an address to put on your
Exactly.
application.
Exactly. Wait, there's a second question there. Would this residency be appropriate for someone doing an art form like performance, art, or comedy? Yes. You know, what was it? The last cohort, we had someone who was actually creating a music compilation. So the projects run the gamut. That would be nice, actually, comedy. That'd be really
Yeah, I
fun.
think it's super impactful.
We haven't had a comedian yet, but
Yeah.
as we mentioned earlier, like in the eligibility section, artists, organizers, educators of all disciplines are welcome, as long as your project idea is centered around solidarity.
Mhm.
And I got a question, a direct question asking, how is Asian defined within the context of this program? And I believe we think here at A4, anybody who self-identifies as someone with Asian heritage, whether it's East, Central Asian, West Asian, South Asian, Southeast Asian, as long as that's how you self-identify, that is considered Asian American to us.
Great. And we have a question from Phil in the chat. If you're going to school and will be getting an artist diploma, but not a degree earning diploma, can we still apply? Oh,
What does that mean, an artist diploma? Is that like a certificate program, Phil?
Yes.
It's a good question. So I want to go back to the original reason why we said not degree earning students or current degree earning students was because there are so many resources that are available to students who attend 2-year, 4-year schools. So we wanted to create this program or make this opportunity available for everyone else who may not have an opportunity to kind of realize their project with support from a school, et cetera. So if it is a certificate program that is not an accredited degree, I think that's fair. I think it's fair to apply. Yeah. What do you think, Lisa? Yeah. Okay. Lisa's nodding.
Yeah, the aim of this is to be more inclusive rather than
Right.
exclusive.
okay. I got another private message with a question. Would this program be appropriate for creating public art such as wall murals, sculpture, digital art displays, etc.? Thank you.
Yeah, Jess Snow and Tatiana. I can never say Tatiana's last name, and I don't want to butcher it right now.
Fasazada?
No, it's like
Nope.
Fazlazi Day. I think that's how you say it. Don't kill me, Tatiana.
Okay.
But they were working on murals. They were part of cohort 1. They were a collective, both muralists, and came together in solidarity to create new murals. So yes, definitely public art.
Great. Any other questions in the group? I see a couple folks had to hop off. We still have most of you here. Now is the time you have us.
But
You-
you can still email.
Yes, you can still email us, but you're gonna get like a more personable response right now. Okay, I see something from David. Can a project be in the form of a creative teaching workshop where participants learn the basics of a certain artistic practice?
I'm guessing yes, as long as it's in the spirit of solidarity, right? Bringing the two communities together.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think I was like, another cheat code. Why am I giving away cheat codes today? Another another cheat code might be to think about again, neighborhoods, places where community is already where the community already exists and need to be brought together. you know, where there might be tension, you know, that might be, and using the artistic practice as a vehicle for justice and solidarity.
So does the residency assist with logistics in reaching out to the community, for example, not having experience with making public art and how to pursue that avenue?
I'm the queen of public art. So you can do a one-on-one session with us, with Lisa and we'll give you all, no, we're not gonna give you everything, but we can totally guide you in that process and help with some context that might be supportive to realizing your project.
Yeah, and I should mention, we should just reiterate that throughout the entire year-long program, Amy, Lisa, you know, the A4 and MoCADA teams will be available for these one-on-one sessions. You just have to reach out and schedule. Our goal is to meet with each resident at least once through each phase, but it can be more depending on your needs. And then
We are doing mentors, aren't we? I think.
So we're doing mentors through workshops, if you
That's
recall.
yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, another thing to mention is that because this is the first time we're doing this full year iteration or format, after each phase, we will be collecting feedback from the residents to get a sense for you know, what your needs are, how you've been progressing, and your responses to some of those feedback questions will be helping us shape the next couple phases or whatever the next phase. So for example, we don't actually introduce mentors until the second phase as you're doing your research. The first phase is a lot of learning and development, a lot of, you know, structure and programming. The second phase is, you know, we're going to bring in mentors from there. They're going to be past residents who are going to be leading workshops, facilitating workshops based on your projects and the topics that you are interested in learning more about. So that's why we haven't actually scheduled that in, because it will largely depend on the cohort that we select for this. So that's to be decided, to be shaped.
Last question. Rebecca asks, can the program build off another project that might happen at the same time?
Can you expand? I'm sorry, can you expand, Rebecca? What you mean build off of another project? Is it like an extension or?
So yeah, Rebecca, are you there? Do you mind elaborating? Yes.
Yeah, so my question is, I'm planning on doing a project that fits in with some of the overlapping themes of this residency. And my question is, can I, even though I'm already planning on working on the project, can I like apply for this residency?
Yes.
Sorry, I have a dog.
So yes, definitely. I mean, when Amy was going through the application, we do ask the question, is this an existing project? Yes, no, you know, and you can elaborate in your project description. It's totally fine if this is something you're already working on and you want to expand on. If it's completely new, that's fine too. It really, we're quite open when it comes to that.
Okay, sorry, I must have missed that part.
Okay, no problem.
We're done.
So I have one final question that was just messaged to me privately. If the degree program I'm doing is in the evening, does that eliminate me from eligibility?
It's a degree program, so the degree program eliminates you, not the time of the
not
class.
the timing of it.
Mhm.
And actually, a lot of our programs in the first phase do happen in the evening, so that may also be a challenge for you. Okay. So I've been taking notes on all the questions. I may need to go back and watch the recording to catch a couple of them that I missed. But I will put all the questions that you all asked on the opportunity page under the FAQ section. We will be posting this recording to our YouTube channels and also sending it to all of the registrants. So if you want to go back, you can do that. I'll also be sending the slideshow and a link to the application.
I just want to add one more thing to Isabella's question, because I don't think we answered it. Does this residency assist with logistics and reaching out to the community? That's different from the experience with making public art. Yes, we can support, and we're happy to share any like materials that you create to kind of get the word out to community, but we are hoping that each resident will do the work of being in community, talking with community, and creating a community around their work and their practice. Does it make sense?
Okay, one last question from Yumi. I'm a student at NYU studying somatic art therapies and environmental neuroscience with a focus on audio journalism and improvisational flute. Wow, it's a lot. Most of my work is centered on the intersection of disability and diaspora. And although I am ineligible for this residency, there's still a way to get involved with the community. Oh, that's a good question. Oh, fireworks, Amy.
I would say yes. I
Yes,
would
sorry.
say that, oh, sorry,
I would say yes, especially. But
Oh, Lisa, you can unmute. I'll mute myself.
okay. I would say we will be sharing the projects that the resident cohorts are working on. And if you would like to get involved with them or with their projects, I feel like that is probably an appropriate way. You can also reach out to us directly by email if you have ideas about how you would like to get involved. So I would say just you could message us privately after this.
Yeah, and you may have one more thing to add to that. So during the first phase of the program, so basically from June to the end of this year, we are going to have, we introduced the idea of community conversations and Q&A. So those 4 community conversations are going to be on topics we imagine on topics like coalition building, design justice, getting out of your echo chamber, sustaining your practice. Those 4 community conversations are open to the public. That first hour where the expert speaker is presenting, and then the Q&A that comes after is private with just the cohort and the speakers. But that presentation is open to the public. So we will be promoting those events, and you are free to sign up and join. So you get a little taste of how, some of the ideas and frameworks that the residents are digging into. So that's one way to be involved. And we'll have other public events too, like that symposium that we talked about that's happening next fall. That's going to be a big event that everyone is invited to. Yeah.
And our book is dropping.
And we're going to have a book release party too in July. So there'll be plenty of public engagements that the community, whether or not you're a resident, you'll be invited to. So just follow us, follow A4, follow MoCADA, stay in touch.
Also, hell yeah to volunteers. I see you, Yumi.
Yeah, just like follow us, and if we're in need of volunteers, we'll reach out. Thank you. Okay, that's it. So great. Thanks, everyone.